The cop's boots thudded heavy on the pavement as he approached the black sedan. "Move along!" he barked, eyes narrowing behind mirrored sunglasses. The man inside locked eyes with him, calm but firm. "Officer, I was just parked here." The cop smirked, reaching for his baton. "This is a public street. You think you own it?" The man's voice didn't rise, but it held steel. "I respect the law. I expect you do too." The cop's grip tightened, swinging the baton hard against the driver's door, glass cracking under the blow. "Watch your mouth." Suddenly, a car pulled up behind them, sleek, official. A woman stepped out, sharp and composed. "That's enough." The cop froze, recognizing her immediately. "Governor's son?" she asked, voice low but commanding. The cop's face paled. "I didn't know." The man inside opened his door, standing tall. "Now you do. Maybe next time, respect comes before force." The woman's eyes bored into the cop. "You're off duty. Write your report honestly, or I'll make sure you don't work a day hereafter." The cop swallowed, the weight of authority shifting visibly. Around them a crowd had gathered, tension rippling through the air. The man's calmness became a shield, dignity reclaiming. Space without a shout. The cop stepped back, silent, unraveling without words. The governor's son nodded once, a quiet victory claimed in the sty. The cop's gaze faltered, the confidence that had carried him moments ago slipping like sand through his fingers. "I wasn't aware," he stammered, voice low. The governor's son didn't raise his voice. He simply said, "Awareness starts with respect, something you seem to lack." The woman beside him, the governor's aide, stepped closer. "Your actions carry consequences, not just for you, but for the entire force." A flicker of doubt crossed the cop's eyes. The crowd watching sensed the shift, the unspoken power dynamic tilting. A teenager nearby whispered, "Did you see that? He's breaking." The cop clenched his fists, but his shoulders slumped slightly. "I'll file the report," he said quietly, defeated. The governor's son nodded, the calm in his posture unshaken. "Good. Truth matters more than pride." The woman turned to the gathering crowd, voice firm. "Let this be a reminder. Authority without accountability is abuse." The murmurs grew louder, the energy in the air changing from anger to resolve. The cop stepped back, swallowed hard, and walked away, his silence louder than any words. He could have spoken. The man in the broken car closed the door gently, the cracks on the glass catching the fading sunlight. Around them, the world shifted imperceptibly. Justice claimed not with force, but with quiet dignity illness. The cop's footsteps faded as he retreated, leaving a space thick with silence and unspoken truths. The governor's son stood beside. The woman, his posture calm yet unyielding. He glanced around at the gathering crowd, faces etched with surprise, relief, and something deeper, a tentative hope. "It's not about who you are," he said softly, voice steady. "It's about what you stand for." The woman nodded in agreement. Accountability isn't a privilege. It's a responsibility. A man near the back whispered, "Maybe this is the moment things start to change." The governor's son met the eyes of the onlookers, their silent questions and fears laid bare. Change begins when we refuse to accept injustice, when we stand firm, not with anger, but with dignity. The crowd shifted, the weight of years pressing down, but slowly lifting. The cracked door of the car became a symbol, a fracture in a system long unchallenged. Around them, the atmosphere hummed with possibility, a quiet revolution unfolding, not with noise, but with the steady reclaiming of respect. And in that moment, the balance of power shifted, not with violence, but with unwavering composure. The cop's retreat was slow, each step weighed down by the realization that the power he wielded was no longer absolute. Behind him, the murmurs of the crowd grew louder, voices mixing with the distant sounds of the city, cars passing, footsteps echoing, lives continuing beyond the confrontation. The governor's son remained standing beside the woman, their presence calm yet commanding, like a quiet storm gathering strength. His eyes scanned the faces around him, searching for something beyond the surface, for the spark of change that had been smoldering beneath years of silence and resignation. "This moment," he said, voice low but carrying through the space, "is not about retribution, it's about recognition." The woman nodded, her gaze sharp. Recognition that no one is above the law, and that dignity must be the foundation of authority. A young woman in the crowd whispered to her friend, "I never thought I'd see this here." The friend nodded, eyes shining. "It's the start of something real." The governor's son looked back at the cop, now distant but still visible, and spoke again, quieter this time. "Change begins when the smallest cracks in the system are noticed, when silence breaks not with noise, but with steady refusal to accept injustice." The cracked car door behind them seemed to reflect the fragility of the old order, broken but still standing, waiting to be rebuilt on new terms. Around the group, the energy shifted palpably. Faces once hardened by doubt softened, shoulders once burdened seemed lighter. The air was thick with possibility, the kind that comes from witnessing dignity reclaimed without rage, from seeing power challenged not by force, but by quiet strength. As the crowd began to disperse, a few voices lingered, speaking softly but with resolve. "This is just the beginning. We have to keep watching." "No more silence." The governor's son turned to the woman beside him, a faint smile touching his lips. "The road ahead is long." She returned the smile. "But every journey starts with one step." Together, they walked away from the scene, two figures moving forward into an uncertain future, carrying with them the quiet fire of change. And behind them the cracked door remained, a reminder that even the strongest walls can break, and from the fractures something new can emerge. The street around them was quiet now, but the echoes of what had just unfolded lingered in the air like a low hum, subtle yet persistent. The crowd had thinned, but the weight of the moment pressed on everyone present. The governor's son and the woman walked side by side, their strides calm and deliberate, their eyes reflecting the flicker of a shared purpose. He glanced back at the cracked car door, its fractured glass catching the fading light. "It's a symbol," he said softly, "not just of damage, but of resilience, of systems stretched too thin and the need for repair." She nodded, her voice steady. "And the importance of holding those in power accountable. Without respect, authority crumbles." They paused beneath a street lamp, its glow casting long shadows behind them. Around them, the city moved on, indifferent yet full of stories, waiting to be rewritten. "I think people are ready," he said, voice low but hopeful. "Ready to listen, to learn, to change." Her eyes met his, unwavering. "But it takes courage. The courage to face uncomfortable truths, to break silence, and to stand firm." A car passed slowly, headlights briefly illuminating their faces. Two figures carved out of light and shadow, carrying the quiet strength of a movement yet to come. The cracked door remained, a silent witness to a moment where power faltered, and dignity reclaimed its space, and in that space something fragile and fierce began to grow. The city lights blurred softly as the evening deepened, the distant hum of traffic a constant reminder that life moved forward, unaware of the small revolutions quietly taking shape in its midst. The governor's son and the woman continued walking, their pace unhurried yet purposeful. Each step was a silent vow to the change they sought to nurture. He glanced toward the horizon, where the last traces of sunlight kissed the skyline. "There's a long road ahead," he said quietly. "A road filled with resistance, doubt, and hard truths." She looked at him, steady and resolute, but also a road paved with courage, dignity, and the voices of those who refuse to be ignored. They paused near a park bench, the city's heartbeat slowing for a moment in the cool night air. Around them, shadows shifted, some retreating, others gathering strength. He spoke again, softer now. "Every crack in the system is an opportunity, a chance to rebuild better, fairer." She smiled faintly. "And every step taken together makes the impossible possible." The cracked car door from earlier lingered in his mind. A reminder that change often starts from fractures, from moments of vulnerability turned to strength. As they disappeared into the night, the promise of transformation hung quietly between them, waiting to be claimed by those brave enough to carry it forward. The night deepened, wrapping the city in a quiet blanket of shadows. The two figures moved steadily, their footsteps falling softly on the pavement, each step a silent promise. Around them, the world spun on, oblivious, yet subtly changed. He spoke without looking back. "We'll face resistance, people afraid. Of change will try to silence us." She nodded. "They always do, but silence only lasts so long." A cool breeze stirred, carrying the faint scent of rain and possibility. "The cracks we saw today," he continued, "they're just the beginning. The system is fragile, and that fragility is its undoing." She smiled, eyes bright in the darkness. "And from those cracks, new light can pour in." They paused beneath a flickering street lamp, the glow casting their shadows long and intertwined. "Change isn't loud," she said. "It's steady, persistent, quiet but unstoppable." He met her gaze, a shared determination passing between them. Together, they stepped forward into the unknown, carrying the quiet fire of hope and the unshakable strength of truth. The street was silent except for the soft tapping of their shoes on the wet pavement, the night air heavy with the scent of rain that had just passed. The city around them seemed paused, as if holding its breath in the wake of what had transpired. Tiana and Malik walked side by side, their silhouettes merging with the shadows, but their resolve burning brighter than any street lamp. Tiana's voice was steady, barely above a whisper, yet each word carried weight. "We've been taught to lower our voices, to stay invisible. But today, I felt something different. A shift." Malik glanced at her, eyes reflecting the faint glow of neon signs. It was more than a shift. It was a crack in the walls built to keep us silent. She nodded slowly. "That crack has to grow. It has to become a door." The city breathed around them, indifferent yet alive with possibility. The distant sounds of traffic, the faint hum of conversations, the rustle of leaves in a gentle breeze. All reminders that life moves forward, and with it, change. "Every step we take," Malik said, "is a step away from the shadows of injustice." Tiana's gaze lifted to the sky, the stars hidden behind clouds, but no less present. "And sometimes the smallest light can guide the darkest path." They paused beneath a flickering streetlight, its glow unsteady but persistent, much like their fight. "Quiet strength," Malik said softly. "It's often the most powerful force there is." Tiana smiled, the tension easing just a fraction. "Then let's keep walking, no matter how long it takes." Together, they continued into the night, two quiet warriors shaping a story still unfolding, their voices low but unbreakable. The night air grew colder, wrapping around them like a silent witness to their journey. Tiana's breath formed faint clouds as she exhaled slowly, her thoughts swirling with the events that had unfolded, each moment etched into her memory, a reminder of the battles fought not with fists or shouts, but with quiet dignity. Malik matched her pace, his presence steady and reassuring. "You held the room," he said softly. not by raising your voice, but by standing your ground. She glanced at him, eyes reflecting a mix of exhaustion and fierce resolve. That's how we change things, she replied, not by breaking under pressure, but by refusing to be broken. They crossed a bridge overlooking the river, the water below dark and flowing, unstoppable despite the obstacles in its path. Sometimes I wonder, Malik mused, if the quiet ones are the loudest in the end. Tiana smiled faintly. They are, because their strength isn't about noise. It's about truth, steady, unwavering, impossible to ignore. The city lights shimmered behind them, a backdrop to the promise of a new day. "We're not done," she said firmly. "This is only the beginning." Malik nodded, a spark of hope lighting his eyes. "Together we'll make sure they hear us, even if it's in whispers." The night wrapped around them once more as they walked on, two voices rising softly, in a world still learning to listen. The city streets lay quiet beneath the dim glow of street lamps, their light casting long shadows that stretched like memories behind Tiana and Malik. Each step they took was deliberate, a silent march forward, through a world reluctant to change but unable to remain the same. Tiana's voice broke the stillness, soft yet unwavering. "We've been told to stay in the shadows, to keep our voices down, but I see now it's the quiet ones who make the deepest impact." Malik smiled, eyes reflecting the distant glow of neon signs. "Strength isn't always loud. Sometimes it's the steady pulse beneath the noise." She nodded slowly. "It's the calm that shakes the foundations." The air was cool, carrying the faint scent of rain and possibility. Around them, the city whispered stories of struggle and hope, pain and resilience. "Every moment we refuse to be silent," Malik said. "We chip away at the walls built by fear and ignorance." Tiana glanced upward, the stars hidden behind. Clouds, but still there, watching. "And one day, those small cracks will let in the light." They paused beneath a flickering lamp, its glow uneven but persistent, like the fight they'd begun. "Quiet courage," Malik mused, "is the kind that changes worlds." Tiana's lips curved into a determined smile. "Then let's keep moving, no matter how long the road." Together, they vanished into the night, their footsteps echoing softly, a promise that the fight for justice is a journey of steady, unyielding hearts. The night deepened, wrapping the city in shadows that felt less like barriers and more like blankets shielding fragile hope. Tiana and Malik moved forward, their footsteps in quiet harmony, carrying the weight of stories too often silenced. Around them, the world hummed, unaware, relentless, yet slowly bending toward change. Tiana's voice broke the silence, low and steady. "It's not about making noise, it's about being unshakable." Malik nodded. "The strongest trees don't scream in the storm. They root deeper." She smiled, eyes reflecting the distant glow of streetlights. "We're planting seeds. Seeds of dignity, resilience, and quiet revolt." The air grew cooler, the night stretching infinitely ahead, full of unknowns. Yet in their steady pace, there was certainty that every small act of courage adds up, that the faintest whispers can become a roar. Malik's hand brushed hers, a silent pact. Together. Tiana squeezed his hand back, voice firm. "Always." They walked on, two figures against the vastness, their quiet strength a beacon for those who would follow, a reminder that justice often begins with the softest of voices standing firm. The city lay beneath a thick blanket of night, the distant glow of streetlights shimmering like stars fallen to earth. Tiana and Malik walked slowly, their steps measured and deliberate, echoing softly on the pavement. Around them, the world seemed vast and unyielding, a place shaped by histories of silence, prejudice, and pain. But in their steady march, there was something else. A quiet defiance that refused to be ignored. Tiana's voice was low but unwavering, cutting through the hush like a promise. For so long I believed that justice demanded shouting, loud protests, angry voices, clashing fists, but now I see it differently. True power lies in quiet strength, in standing firm when the world expects you to break, in speaking truth, without raising your voice. Malik glanced at her, eyes reflecting the soft amber of the street lamps. It's the kind of strength that unsettles the powerful, not because it's loud, but because it cannot be shattered. She nodded, her gaze steady on the path ahead. We carry the weight of generations, of pain, of silencing, of being pushed to the margins. But we also carry their resilience, the calm courage that refuses to be erased. A soft breeze stirred, rustling leaves and carrying the faint scent of rain, a reminder of renewal amid hardship. The night stretched endlessly before them, filled with uncertainty but also with possibility. Every small act, every whispered truth, every moment of dignity, it adds up, Malik said, voice thick with conviction. It's the slow erosion of injustice, the subtle dismantling of walls built by fear and ignorance. Tiana took a deep breath, feeling the cool air fill her lungs, steadying her. I'm tired, she admitted quietly, tired of fighting shadows, but I'm not willing to stop. Malik's hand found hers, fingers intertwining in a gesture of solidarity and hope. Neither am I, and neither are those who walk beside us, the unseen, the unheard. They paused beneath a flickering street lamp, its light wavering but persistent, much like their fight. The shadows cast behind them seemed less like chains and more like stories, stories waiting to be rewritten. Change doesn't come with a roar, Tiana said softly. It comes in the quiet moments, the ones where you choose to stand, even when no one's watching. Malik smiled, a spark of warmth in the chill night air. And those moments, though small, are unstoppable. They continued walking, their silhouettes merging with the night. Two quiet forces shaping a future still uncertain, but filled with the unbreakable power of truth and resilience. As the city slept around them, a new story began to unfold, one written not with anger, but with quiet courage, not with shouts, but with steadfast presence. And in that story, justice was no longer a distant dream, but a living promise. The dawn was still hours away, but a subtle light began to creep over the horizon, casting a pale glow on the streets where Tiana and Malik walked. The quiet before the world fully woke felt heavy with possibility, a silence pregnant with the promise of change. Each step they took was measured, deliberate, a steady beat against the uncertain rhythm of the city's pulse. Tiana's voice broke the silence, soft but unwavering. I used to think justice was a thunderous roar, shaking foundations and demanding attention. Now I understand it's often a whisper, persistent, patient, and impossible to ignore. Malik glanced at her, the faintest smile touching his lips. It's that kind of strength that lasts, the kind that doesn't burn out but smolders, growing until it can't be contained. She nodded, eyes reflecting the early light. We carry more than our own stories. We carry the weight of those who came before, their struggles, their silences, their hopes. The sky brightened slowly, streaks of pink and gold painting the clouds. The city stirred, awakening to a new day. We're not just walking forward, Malik said, voice steady. We're carrying a legacy, and that makes every step sacred. Tiana inhaled deeply, feeling the crisp air fill her lungs. The journey is long, but the path is clear. We'll walk it together, not with noise, but with unwavering resolve. As the sun finally rose, spilling warm light across the buildings, their shadows stretched long behind them, symbols of a past they refused to be chained by, and a future they were determined to claim. The fight for justice was far from over, but for Tiana and Malik, it had already begun. The morning light spilled gently over the city, softening the sharp edges of night and casting a warm glow on the faces of Tiana and Malik as they walked. The streets, once heavy with silence and tension, now buzzed quietly, with the rhythms of life, footsteps, distant conversations, the hum of engines starting anew. The world around them was waking, unaware of the subtle revolution kindling in hearts like theirs. Tiana looked ahead, voice steady, eyes clear with purpose. "We've come far, but this is just the first step. The real work is in every day after. Holding space, demanding dignity, showing up even when it's hard." Malik nodded, the weight of the journey etched softly in his features. Change isn't a single moment. It's the accumulation of small acts, quiet decisions to stand firm. She smiled faintly, a mixture of exhaustion and hope. And those small acts build the foundation for something bigger, a future where justice isn't a dream, but a reality. They paused, watching the city stretch before them, full of contradictions, challenges, and endless possibility. Malik's hand found hers, fingers intertwining in silent solidarity. We carry more than our own stories. We carry the hopes of those who came before and those who will come after. Tiana squeezed his hand gently. Then let's be the voices that never fall silent, the strength that never wavers. As they stepped forward into the rising sun, their shadows merged and lengthened, a symbol of resilience, unity, and the quiet power of dignity reclaimed. The fight would continue, but together they would walk it, unshaken, unbroken, and unstoppable.